Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Innovation Ecosystems Unpacked. Today talking about international growth or internationalisation, a difficult word. And here today actually two people from the same company, which is new, but they will of course explain why that is. We have Gernot from Austria.
Yes.
From close to Vienna.
Yeah.
And Florent from France.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting to before I mention the company and all the things starting with you, how did you get here?
Well, I was on my way to Paris and then I took a wrong turn. That's actually the honest answer. My girlfriend was living in Paris, I was living in Vienna, and we both were looking for a way to live together. And suddenly Amsterdam came into play. I had the chance to join a really cool company back then. We grew immensely into, I think, 17 new markets. And I got on board, and me and my girlfriend, we moved actually then to Amsterdam. And since then, we're in the Netherlands.
Cool. And how did weGrow start?
Well, weGrow started shortly after. Florent and me, we met at that company and discovered that actually the topic of international growth is mostly always broken. So it's really hard to scale international. This is kind of one of the biggest hurdles for growth and also chances for death of a company actually, which is horrible. And that's why we set out to change that and make it easier for companies and founders to succeed internationally.
So, and you traveled through Berlin or how to get there? Oh, no, France.
France to start.
Brussels, yeah.
So I lived and worked in 8 countries, between Singapore, Morocco, Finland, in Italy and so on. And somehow, I don't know why, but I always end up in the Netherlands. I left 3 times in the Netherlands and 3 times came back because I found this country has a lot of advantages in terms of easiness to do business, but also very open-minded and you can actually do a lot here. So I find this is the best combination. And coming back to what Gernot said, we worked a lot with startup and scale-up to launch new markets all over Europe. And we found out that it's really not easy. Then we built up a clear experience how to do this over a decade. And we were wondering, okay, who can benefit the most from this experience? So we saw a study from Deloitte, 2017, that said that 0.4% of the startup make it as a scale-up. And when we looked at that figure, we said, how about we make it 4%? What kind of an impact we could create to the economy to create direct jobs and indirect jobs? And it's really about, that international expansion journey has a lot of traps, but they can be avoided if you know what to do, if you've been there before, and if you get prepared.
Yeah. But, and if you look at the Netherlands, like you said, like 3 times back, it's a nice country, open. I think maybe it's the same for you. So, what would you say about the Netherlands related to international growth, or is it a good country to?
It's a very good country. Why? Because first you have to look at the historical culture, right? You are a country of trade. Amsterdam. And the Netherlands, we are sitting in the harbor of Rotterdam, right? Yeah. So 1, 2, from a cultural perspective as well, you are super straightforward. You know where you stand. If the product is not good, you will tell me. So it's a great way to learn very fast what works and what doesn't, to iterate very fast.
But are we good at growing companies international?
You could get better, I think. But yes, you are good already, I think.
Did we lose it over time? Because
no, I don't think so. But if you look at the pure market size of the Dutch market, you gotta go international really fast. So this is what we actually see is sometimes an advantage of Dutch companies because they are forced to do this early. It's the same in the Danish ecosystem or Sweden or other rather smaller markets. You gotta do this early. Not too early, otherwise complicated, but earlier than, let's say, if you start your company in France or in Germany, for example. So that gives you a bit of a head start. Challenge is not to lose it in that kind of second valley of death after the first initial growth, that you then actually make this sustainable on the long run and don't burn too much money while doing it.
Yeah. So, what does weGrow do?
Good bridge. Thanks, Martin. So we help in that whole process. We help around market, talents, and capital for international expansion. So we help to figure out which markets make sense. Are you ready to actually do it? Then we build go-to-market plans and we help to execute it. When I speak about execution, we can jump in and really do it hands-on with the companies to bridge a couple of months to deliver the first successes. We help them to find talents also in this regard and look at how to build the organization to make it successful on the long run, implement playbooks, etc. And in between, if there is a need for fuel equal capital, then we can also help them and connect them with investors.
And your clients, are they mainly, I would say, Dutch startups and scale-ups, or is it?
No, it started from the Netherlands, obviously.
Yeah.
So we started bringing Dutch companies to the French market and the German-speaking markets. And then we got requests from French companies, Austrian companies, American companies, help us to go to that market. So what we did is we built a methodology that answer all those questions in a very pragmatic way. And today I would say half of our clients are Dutch, going to other markets in Europe, States, and so on. And the other half is companies from all over the Western Europe, the States. We even have some clients in Asia now that are coming to mostly Europe. But it's basically, that process is usually the same. It's always the same question that come back. It's just the sequence and adapting it to the very unique situation of the entrepreneur. Because we don't copy-paste projects recipe. We just really listen with our 2 ears to the challenge of the entrepreneur and the company and what are their ambitions.
Because what is different about that approach? If you look at compared to other, like there, I think already as long as I'm busy in working in an ecosystem and looking at the expansion of companies, then it's like a lot of companies are saying, yeah, we support in an international growth or creating a strategy. Yeah. But what would you say is the main difference, right?
What makes us different, yeah.
In that.
A couple of things I would say. One is the experience. And this is not just experience of Florent and me, but we are a network of 100 people with a core team of 12 people in Amsterdam, Berlin, Paris, London. So this really helps. So we're deeply rooted in those ecosystems. We have the boots on the ground, we have the eyes on the ground, we have the ears on the ground, so we understand those markets. So it's everything around experience. We have a clear process, so we can avoid the biggest pitfalls and mistakes that can slow you down. And we're very practical. I think it's not just on a strategy level, but we really thrive by results and seeing then those companies grow. That is satisfaction for us. So also that kind of co-entrepreneurial view, I think, can really add a lot of value and fun also to the projects. And on the long run, it makes us happy if we see the companies grow and also the people in the companies grow. So we don't hold back with our know-how. We give them all the tools, all the framework, and kind of train their internal muscle memory so they can do it market after market after market by themselves in the end. So that's kind of our mission. We want to impact 100 and 1,000 founders in their international expansion journey. So we're getting there.
Because, where are you, would you say?
We are close to 2,000.
Okay, well,
yeah.
2%.
There's an internal joke about this, but it's a good answer.
Well, because what's the joke though?
No, it's
internal.
Gernot is always very creative. So, but yeah, absolutely.
So, then talking about the process, right? So I know it's per company, it's a different type of how you approach. But maybe what would you say are the key points where maybe it goes wrong if other companies do it, or you say, well, this is really the main steps that you need to take. So
first, you should try, of course. We see most of the companies always go, land, and then try to figure it out, or copy paste what they know from the home market that has been a tremendous success, maybe in the Netherlands or wherever. But that's will get you so far, right? That's number one. Two, the people that you're gonna go to approach in other markets, maybe in your home market everybody knows you, but when you go outside, nobody has heard of you. So you really, really need to invest in A-level people because they will carry your growth in the next markets. And then I think there's so many aspects that can go wrong, but the two others that come right away to mind is you always need to plan for more time and more budgets because this is something, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And the other thing is cultural differences. This is one aspect that is always misinterpreted and misunderstood, but that can make or break a market very, very quickly. So this is really important to think. I always ask the question, who needs to adjust to who? If you go to Japan, do you need to adjust to the Japanese or do they need to adjust to you?
Yeah, I think simple answer. Yeah.
So that's understanding the perspective where you go is essential. Yeah. And for that we use a lot of validation touch points with the potential customers or partners that will feed information from the market that you have the right information to base your strategy or your action plans. Not pushing, but basically listening and find the right combination to go.
What we created here is kind of a thinking model. We call it the MVM, minimum viable market, kind of from the MVP way of thinking, right? And it's those iteration, validations, learning into the market. You incorporate that again into your go-to-market, adjust maybe a little bit, and that will make you successful and not the classic waterfall way of thinking, right? We have a plan, we did a bit of research, now we have a plan, then we execute it, and 18 months later, we know, did we win or did we lose? So you gotta keep that ball rolling and adjust.
Yeah, because I can imagine there are different types of companies, right? Different kinds of strategies. For example, we did, from a research perspective, we looked at Just Eat Takeaway. Well, they have maybe a different type of international growth strategy, right? So they take over or they merge with other competitors or I would say partners in those countries. Do you also see is there, did you say, well, I think that is maybe an outlier in terms of how they did it, or is it a feasible strategy if you could manage it?
I think the answer is not yes or no, black or white. It can be a feasible strategy, especially if the market is already saturated, right? So you can invest millions into trying to get your competitor out of it, or millions in taking them over, right? It's a matter of negotiation and math in the end. What we usually not advise is to only build your organization or expansion strategy on a buy strategy. So what we often execute is buy and build in combinations. We help them to find the targets to take over and have a contingency plan and kind of an organic growth next to it. And that works, definitely.
So how much time, because you say it takes twice the budget and the time, how much time would it take to I would say have a decent business, right? Doesn't have to be the same as in the let the home market, but how much time would it take?
What's your ambition? Depends on the ambitions and the means that you have. I mean, it's some companies they must win. I don't know, the German market because if they win this one, eventually they will become the leader worldwide about their field. Some companies that just need to be, seen in various places. So the time question is always a bit of is what's behind the question. So we always look at when we decide to work with clients. Okay, how ambitious are they? What's their mindset? Do they have a growth mindset? Are they humble and coachable? Do they have a good team around them? Do they have traction? And the most important is, do you have that capacity to learn how to learn?
Exactly.
If you have that, okay, we're going to be a great team and you're going to be successful. So time, it depends. If you got a 5 million funding and, I don't know, 3 or 4 people in your team, we can go super fast. The feedback that we always get, besides the structure and the everything that Gernot mentioned, is that we are very, very fast. So within a time window of 4 to 6 weeks, we can get to where should you go in Europe. We can get to an action plan in terms of go-to-market for the French market or the German market or whatever market. So the time is related to your ambitions and where you want to bring it.
That also to take over or add here, I think in another bottleneck is often when you speak about time, once you know where to go, right, but then to find the right people, maybe if you need a country manager or a senior guy in Germany, in France or somewhere, that's also where we can help. We often see that this topic is tackled way too late. So you lose 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, even 12 months. Sometimes if you make the wrong hire, that sets you back compared to your competitor drastically. You burn a lot of money. So if you can tackle also the talent side next to the market side, I think that is a really winning combination. And again, I bring it back to what we do, like market, talent, and then also capital. Because if you figure those out, have traction with the right people, well, hey, here comes your next funding round.
Sure. Yeah.
We have a very good example right now of a client that we've helped this last summer. They just announced yesterday that they are going to officially to launch in the Netherlands. ZenJob, maybe you heard about them. It's basically, Temper.
Yeah.
Well, ZenJob might be a little bit better. So it's a super fast growing scale up from Germany. Yeah. They did all their research. They identified the Netherlands as a very pivotal market for their European growth. And we helped them with the preparation. Yeah. And it took almost 9 months before they announced the official launch. Yeah. But now they announce it, they are ready, they already have success.
Yeah. So you supported them with also local people that could, right, as a senior, whatever account manager or...
Yeah, what we did is we helped them to, from an idea to, we need to go to the Netherlands, we prepare them in terms of research to map out what's the positioning, what are the pains in the market, where should they go, how do they position themselves, because this is quite a crowded marketplace here in this field. So what's the space for them, and what kind of a angle should they have in the market? And that took a while, but now they are ready. They have a team. They have some successes, and if they crack this one, they will become the European player. Yeah. So going back to the time, wow, they did their research. They were ready. They're prepared, and then now time will tell if they're successful, of course. But it's really well invested because it could be a bit of a springboard to the rest of Europe.
Because how would you say compare the things that you need to do before you can go to a country compared to at that moment when you're there, you take some, right, I would say small steps, and then how would you see that?
Well, this is super often underestimated, what's actually needed, right? I mean, we're both entrepreneurs, or like 3 entrepreneurs sitting on the table. Our tendency would probably more often be, let's jump in, right? Let's get going, let's see results, let's get moving, right? And we see this is often a couple of critical steps are just not taken. Let's say how it is. And then companies get stuck in markets because they haven't done their research, they haven't talked with people there, they haven't connected to experts, to local ecosystems, they have not found a local product market fit, and they launch with a proposition that is actually not right for that market, or the market is not right for the proposition, right? So this can be easily avoided. It's a couple of weeks, maybe 2 months, sometimes 4, maybe 6, but that's already on the longer end. So you can do a lot of things that can help you to win time later and be actually long-term successful.
Yeah, so I think that's also what, is that also, I would say, one of the, maybe not the success factor, but at least one of the factors, the pitfalls, right, that you take away, right? Definitely. That's also, I think, what you said in the beginning. Yeah.
We had a client, they were looking at Denmark, and we did the research together, and we said, don't go. And the CEO came with a bottle of champagne saying, you saved me millions, thank you so much. He didn't pay us millions, but that's basically what we do. Sometimes we also, when there's no fit,
go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Okay, so different topic, a little bit more, I would say, on the edge. We see a lot of government-funded programs for internationalization and stuff like that, especially also RVO does stuff like that. Let's start the question with, how do you look at that support, I would say, structure, and I mean that coming from a, I would say, government organization, right? And they probably want to do some good stuff, but what is your...
I think the answer is very simple. It's good that those initiatives exist, Because if a government, and not just the Dutch government, but also other governments and also the European Union, if they help young entrepreneurs, young companies in their growth process beyond the borders, I mean, this is something that I would totally sign anytime. So this is good. It kind of kickstarts an ecosystem. It can help. We often work together with those parties all over Europe. Yeah. We kind of plug into those networks. We work with different embassies, with different delegations in the different markets. That helps also and allows us to get certain information or sometimes help companies to land software in the market. So I think it's great that all those networks exist.
But sometimes they also do, they say we will support you landing in a specific country, right? And then maybe that support that they provide, you can imagine also based on the story, what you told. It's like, maybe that also makes it go to a failure and therefore have a sort of a negative result on that startup or scale up because they didn't follow that maybe another process. Or I'm not saying that your process is the one that everybody should use. Maybe they should, but if you know what I mean, like don't you see that really as an issue? So that's just also part of.
For me, the answer is that's always what I say. But one mouth, 2 ears. Let's use them in the right proportion. Yeah. So if you are a founder, we need to pay extra attention to listen to your needs, because at the end we are here to help you. So we need to accommodate and find the best way to answer your questions, not the other way around. So as long as we do this, if you're a public organization or a private company or whatever, we add value.
Okay. All right. So. Going back, I think that what you said is there's a lot of other initiatives also supporting companies to go abroad and to support them there. I think what would be, if you look at it from, I would say maybe European perspective, because for example, we also do the European Scale-up Monitor. We publish that every year. Well, we do it one time, but every year. It's strange because actually we look at it from the Netherlands and Germany and Austria as an ecosystem on itself, but Europe is for the US is like one market. Maybe that's also their misinformation, but you know what I mean? Like, how would you see that in terms of the strategy? Like, is it different going to let's say a European country or going to the US or China in terms of the process? Or do you say, they're different countries, so it doesn't matter if you go to the US or Germany, you will probably have the same issues? Or is the ecosystem more connected than we think, maybe?
Well, it's a couple of questions that you raise here, but it's not a black and white answer, right? So what is for sure is Europe is super fragmented. So that's a plus, but also a minus. But if you start internationalizing here as a European company, maybe your aspiration level is US, maybe Asia, right? But mostly you need to take your first steps here in Europe. But that also means you as an organization learn how to do that. So the first market will be a learning market. The second one will go faster. The third one will be a huge success, hopefully. And maybe the third one is the US. Maybe the third one is then already Japan, China, Singapore, wherever you want to land. So it helps actually European companies. They are earlier ready and have that toolkit, and also with all the talents that, I mean, in this case, the Netherlands is wonderful for that, right? Because you have so many international talents to leverage that into a European, US, Asian expansion. Whereas what we see sometimes with US companies, they see Europe as one market, and that's already a cardinal sin. This doesn't work, right? So we sometimes come in then and help them to understand the local colors from the different markets, and you can immediately see this in conversions from e-commerce or sales in P2B. That will go up when they understand the markets. Yeah.
So, would you say it's different going from a Dutch company to France or Germany? I know that's already two different types of countries. Or going to the US or to Japan? Or do you say, that totally depends on your company, what you want? Or is it easier to go to a European country?
Nothing is easy. No. It's a process. I think it's for me the means is important. If you go to the US with 50K, you won't go too far, right? Same with Japan. It's completely super different market. I think
But with 50k, you can go to Germany. You would say you can start.
you
let's
can
say.
start
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Germany.
It won't take you far.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, rather not.
Yeah, I think yes, Europe is more complex, so it's fragmented and so on. But at the same time, we're exposed. So I'm answering your question from a different angle. We're exposed with so many different market challenges that you can learn so much from all those challenges, and your proposition makes it richer. Where an American company will come with big funding, push to the market, but they will go. And we see so many SaaS companies from the States and Silicon Valley. They have big budgets.
Yeah.
They hire a lot of people at the beginning, and eventually they won't make it after 1 or 2 years because those salespeople, they go somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you are looking for sustainable growth, it's about listening to the needs of those markets, create a deep connection, and then build it up from there.
Yeah.
So I think Europe is a fantastic place to do that. Yeah. And if you're looking to the States or Japan or wherever, you need to get this larger rounds of capital to go.
Yeah. So again, overall, not per se, maybe I know company-specific needs and what is the best strategy, but you hear a lot. There's a lot of also connections with the U.S., Silicon Valley, but also Boston and just the entire East Coast, New York. There's a lot of times like, you need to expand from the Netherlands right away to the US, right? Compared to maybe, and I'm filling the gaps in, like maybe, or you learn what you're saying, like if you also do Germany, Belgium, France, whatever, Italy, and then you learn there and you learn that you actually I think that you get the skill in the company, right, to expand. And with that skill, it becomes easier to go to also different countries.
Exactly.
It depends on the situation. Like Harvard, Barents, Harvard is a great scale up from the Netherlands. They went first to the US because they said we want to be market leader in our field. So if we have to fail fast, learn fast, let's go to the US, and then we're going to be the first in this field. And that's what they did. Yeah. And they are now a global company because they took that strategic move. Yeah. Sometimes, so it's a good question what you're asking. It depends on the situation of the company and the market in this field. That's what I would say.
I mean, look, sometimes it's already a big step to go to Belgium.
Oh yeah, it's totally different
company.
markets.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We had that with one of our clients, and there was one person in management team very experienced in doing business in Belgium, and he said to his colleagues, he said then, look, it is right in front of our doorstep, but it feels 1,000 kilometers away if you do business there. So it can be challenging to go to Belgium or to Germany or to France or to the US or to Asia. Those are all challenging steps, but if you understand the markets better, if you have the right funds, if you have the right people on board and can stomach it as an organization already, then just go wherever makes sense.
Cool. Nice. I think we also have a question from one of the startups.
Hi guys, my name is Michael Steinmann and I'm working as entrepreneur in residence with the Startup Studio Builders here in Rotterdam. I would like to ask our experts from weGrow, who by the way are fabulous on the topic of internationalization, when would you guys say is the right moment to go abroad? And here I'm curious mainly about 3 areas, like the first one is around data and validation. What type of data should be available? What should be looked at? What type of validation should be done before committing to a new market? Second one is around metrics. What are the related metrics that you recommend to really hit internally as a team, but perhaps also in the product before committing to a new market? And the last one is around funding. What are biggest ticket items that typically get overlooked? And what kind of budget should be available before committing to a new market in the first place? And the reason for my question is that I have, during my time in Housing Anywhere and study portals, seen so many startups and scale-ups going too fast, too early, realizing that they have taken on too much, burned a lot of cash, and then scaling back again. So I hope you guys sharing a couple of insights will help all of us move forward smarter. So thanks for sharing and good luck scaling.
So good question, right? It's all about timing. What kind of data should you look at? The metrics to look at, funding, budget. So I think timing, what we see often, companies are not ready, but it really depends on the scale. So we typically do a growth readiness check. How ready are they for international growth? We look at everything around the product, team, commercials, funding, strategy, and benchmark that against all the 150 projects that we did in the last 24 or 36 months. And that kind of ranks them where they still need to improve. So this is really important for them to understand, because then companies still have the time to fix things before going international and scaling all their problems with them. Then it's really harder to tackle. I think in terms of data, it's good to look at the market as such, right? So how big is the market? How fast is it growing? What kind of competition is there? What do you perceive as competition? So that's a different question. What kind of pricing level can you actually call for? Because that makes a market more attractive or less. And I think a topic often underestimated, what kind of regulations. So depending on the vertical industry, this is really important to understand. So that's the data, but also combined with a more qualitative view from the market to ask people, potential buyers, to learn from them. What would they need? How do they reflect on your proposition? What are they missing? What kind of USPs do you need to highlight? And if you merge both into a go-to-market, quantitative and qualitative, that gives you a head start.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And metrics, in terms of how would you measure the if you're doing a good, I think that's maybe the question. I don't know. I would interpret it like that.
So, how much demand is in the market where you want to go? I mean, if you're on e-commerce, you can test with a landing page and put a small budget and then see right away if it picks up, yes or no. That's the beauty of e-commerce, right? You can really test right away. I mean, we had not a client, but a close friend, so to say. He went to, was it Colombia or Argentina, and then he tested with a fake campaign, and then he saw, okay, there was a big market for him, and he decided to go. Those are quick hacks to. But at the end of the day, it's, do you get incoming requests already without not being there?
Exactly. Yeah.
Are your clients bringing you to the market? Because that's the best way to do. Like we have a client, they are from the Netherlands. One of their clients say, we are in Paris as well. We want your service. Then you are in the French market. So this is actually always also how we change the mindset of the entrepreneurs. Is what do you have that you can leverage to get you there?
Exactly.
The other day I was on the phone with a Danish entrepreneur, and I made him realize that he was already in the German market because he had 10 clients
in Germany
that are Danish companies that also have operations in Germany and are using his services. So how much demand is there already from your clients that want your services somewhere else?
Yeah, so that's also, I would say, that's how you can fill your growth strategy, right? So how you can sort of, what you say, leverages almost. It's and that's pretty, I don't know if it's cheap, but because I think that was also the question, like, how much, how didn't have funding, but or how much money, or what could you think about I don't know, the investment that you need to make, because in this case it's less, right? Or it's because you just bring your product.
Sometimes, so I give you another story or client example, not client, but one of the previous company that I work with, Socialmentic, they sold for 3-digit million to Tesconomy, bootstrapped. And what they did extremely well, they piggybacked the growth of Zalando worldwide. So they were in Berlin, Zalando from Berlin. They will launch in Brazil with the local brand. We will manage the technology from Berlin. Then when it was a success, they will go to Brazil, hire a local country manager, tap into the network of that person, build up an office, and then they went Brazil.
Exactly.
So if you understand your clients' drivers and where do they want to go, or your partners, then you can go with just behind them or with them. And that is, it's way better than just estimate, okay, this is going to be...
Is that also maybe a strategy where you say, you know what, I think it's also interesting, before we go to a German market or Danish market, whatever, we look if we can sell from the Netherlands to that company, just to get, right?
Absolutely, it can be a staged approach where you test markets and de-risk your market expansion and see, okay, does it make sense? Do I get initial traction? Okay, if that is checked, then let's invest into people on the ground. Okay, check. Then we open an office and so on, and you grow in a more phased approach into a market than just a yes or no binary decision. And with that also goes your budget, right? Yeah. So you need maybe a little bit less budget at the beginning, but in the end you need to have enough pockets, and maybe you can already fuel it from market growth or not, but it's good to have a kind of stop-loss strategy in that, kind of affordable loss. Yeah. So how much can you actually invest into a new country without going belly up? Exactly. So that's a bit the principle, right? Without destroying the rest of your company or jeopardizing the rest of your company. Do you need 1 million, 2, 5, 10 maybe that you need to reserve for it, and have clear milestones? Yeah. And moment of truth, and this is often hard as an entrepreneur or like as an expansion manager, because you invest a lot of hard blood, sweat and tears and everything into a market. So it's easy then to say, yeah, you know what, let's spend a little bit more. Let's wait a little bit longer. Yeah. And sometimes it's just also brutal, but better and healthy if you just cut your losses, and that's it. Yeah. So we've worked with companies that had to do that. Mm-hmm. Actually, it was then really good to work with those founders because they had experienced it. They had unfortunately burned their fingers in markets and knew they were too early. They didn't have enough budget. And then they were super open to work together with us and coachable and thankful also that we could help them then for the next markets. Exactly. So that was good.
So how about your own international growth?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I said before, we listen to our clients, and then wherever they need us, we grow with them, right? So far it brought us to Berlin, Paris, because those are clearly also a little bit our background too. But we use a lot of the community that we have around us. We call it the weGrow. So it's basically 100 professionals all over Europe and further to listen to those market needs as well. We win a lot of projects like this too. So that's how we do it.
And with that, I think it's also good to understand, and that's a bit also a topic, right? Ecosystems, local ecosystems. This is extremely important for us. Yeah. So we all come from different backgrounds, different ecosystems. Here's a French speaker, German speaker, I'm native Austrian, but the people that we have on board, I think in our core team, we are 7 or 8 or maybe even 9 different nationalities. Mm-hmm. And they all have a network. They come from local ecosystems. And with those 100 experts on top, that's very strong. We just finished a program in the Austrian ecosystem. It was really nice to see, for me as an Austrian, obviously also giving back to my home ecosystem where I kind of grew up professionally. So we helped 8 startups in 8 weeks to prepare for the international expansion together with the Chamber of Commerce there. They invited us to do that. And that's fun for us to give back also to the ecosystems. We do the same in Denmark, we do the same in some parts of Germany. And that's really nice to see also for us as an internationalization strategy. We happen to be here in the Netherlands and Berlin, Paris, but we are a European company.
Exactly, yeah. So it doesn't really matter, it's just like your work is here and you work already with an international network. So I think that, your growth strategy would be more in adding to those people, right? And it doesn't matter where they are in those countries. But would you say it would be really cool if we can have whatever more US companies land successfully in the US, or have more Asian companies landing in Europe?
Yeah, I think for Asian companies it's often a bit harder, even because cultural distance is perceived further. US companies, yes. This is, and the Netherlands is perfect for it as a land and expand pad. We work with a couple of them. Yeah. We help a company in the French market, in the Dutch market, and the demand is growing and growing.
So, would you say, is there any, then that's maybe the question, is there any particular where you say, I think let's rephrase. Is there, would you say, a market where you said, wow, that would be really great if those kinds of markets are open, so those companies can go to maybe from China to the US, or from the US to India, or would you say, well, there's the biggest, maybe, added value to be made because those markets could be missed out.
Yes and no. I think if you look at the Asian market, it's highly attractive in terms of market size.
Yeah.
But there are certain regulations in some of those markets, and you said one of them, like China, right? It's really hard to open a foreign entity there.
Yeah.
Or if you have to close it down, it's really hard to close it down. It costs you extra money. That makes it maybe less attractive, but if you make it in some of those markets, or if you want to be present there, sure.
Yeah. All right. Any last, I would say, remarks or things that, well, maybe we didn't catch up on that, but would be nice to get that message across. Can be also story about
international
your company,
expansion is not easy.
No.
At the same time, there's so much fun, so much you can prepare as well, and it will always be a little bit different from what you know. But that capacity to learn how to learn, what I highlighted before, when you have that as an organization, the organization needs self-sustaining, right? It works by itself, and you will always learn because you will be exposed to different market challenges, and then if you have that capacity to let your team learn to cope with this is amazing. I've seen it several times within companies as an employee, and when we're able to do this with clients, this is, it's a superstar team, and that is what also people feel, the clients, the partners, and so on, and why this company or this product is unbeatable. So I would really emphasize on that learning mechanism internally.
Yes.
Because if you are able to do that as a founder, and your team is able to do that together with you, then you're becoming very strong. No matter where you go, you're becoming very strong.
That connects a bit to, and I want to add what Florent said here. One of our core values is actually we learn. So at weGrow, we learn. So this is really ingrained in all the people that we attract, but also what we want to share with others, and hence bring it back to an ecosystem. We don't perceive so much competition, but it's more like room, how can we work together, right? In the spirit of helping entrepreneurs, helping other founders, help each other out within different markets. And what I personally find very motivating is I learn every day working with inspirational founders. I learn from them, but I can also share our learnings with them. I see the people around us working with us in our own teams or at the companies. They learn from us, but also they grow. And that is really satisfying, and that kind of brings it back to why we founded the company. So you have experts sitting in front of us, but also founders, and that's one of our core values. So I think this is also, thank you for inviting us, because then we can share that with everyone.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Great insights. I think there are some great lessons also to be learned for other startups and scale-ups to grow. And also thank you for, I think also nice to discuss, right, what are we doing as an ecosystem towards it? Are we doing the right things? How do we look at from a European perspective? So again, thanks a lot, and good luck, I would say.
Okay, and keep on growing.
Yes, nice. Nice. I say that every time after.